In our previous session, we mastered the first 10 seconds. We established the greeting, the tone, and the posture. Now, the conversation truly begins. But here's the problem. When you speak to someone face to face, you are relying on a massive amount of nonverbal data. You see them nod. You see their eyes narrow in confusion. You see them lean forward in interest. Psychologists suggest that over half of human communication is visual. When you pick up the telephone, you go blind. You lose the nod. You lose the smile. You lose the furrowed brow. All of that visual data vanishes, and you are left in the dark. This is where most business calls fall apart. Without visual cues, the mind wanders. Misunderstandings happen. The caller feels ignored, or you feel overwhelmed. Welcome to Video 2, Active Listening and Controlling the Flow. Today, we are going to learn how to see with your ears. We are going to transform listening from a passive activity into an active, strategic tool. We will learn the art of the verbal nod, the precision of the alphabet, the psychological power of paraphrasing, and the structural necessity of signposting. By the end of this video, you will not just be hearing words. You will be directing the entire architecture of the conversation. Let's begin with the silence. In a face-to-face meeting, silence can be powerful. It can be contemplative. But on the phone, silence is terrifying. When you're talking to a client and you hear nothing on the other end for 10 seconds, what do you think? You think the call dropped. You think they are bored. You think they are checking their email. Silence creates insecurity. To combat this, you must replace the visual nod with the verbal nod. This is also known as back channeling. A verbal nod is a short, unobtrusive sound or phrase that tells the speaker, I am still here, and I am following you. These are words like, I see, right, go on, understood. Think of the verbal nod as the heartbeat of the call. As long as the caller hears that heartbeat, they know the connection is alive. However, there is a nuance here. You must not interrupt the flow. If you say, I understand, exactly, yes, that makes sense, too loudly or too frequently, you are no longer listening. You are interrupting. The goal is to be a ghost in the machine. You want to be present enough to support them, but transparent enough to let them speak. Try to time your verbal nods for the natural gaps in their sentences. Caller says, we have been having trouble with the shipping delays. You say, I see. Caller says, and it is affecting our production line. You say, right. It seems small. But this constant feedback loop prevents the caller from repeating themselves. Have you ever had someone say the same thing 3 times? They do that because they don't believe you heard them the first time. The verbal nod confirms receipt, so they can move on to the next point. Now, let's talk about accuracy. Business moves on data. Email addresses, invoice numbers, street names, flight codes. The telephone is an imperfect medium. Signals compress. Background noise interferes. The letters M and N sound identical. The letters B, D, T, and P are easily confused. If you guess an email address and get it wrong, you don't just lose a message. You look incompetent. You need a tool for absolute precision. That tool is the phonetic alphabet. You have likely heard this in movies. Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta. You do not need to be a pilot to use this. You need to be a professional. If a client says their name is B, Davis, do not guess. You ask, is that B as in Bravo or D as in Delta? If they are spelling an email address and say the letter S, you verify S as in Sierra. Memorizing the standard phonetic alphabet is one of the highest ROI skills you can learn. It takes 20 minutes to memorize, and it saves you a lifetime of errors. It signals to the client that you care about the details. It screams competence. But what if you simply didn't hear them? We have all been there. The client mumbles, or a truck drives by, and you miss the critical information. The amateur pretends they heard it and hopes for the best. This is a disaster waiting to happen. The professional asks for clarification, but the way you ask matters. Do not say, what? Do not say, I didn't hear you. When you say I didn't hear you, it implies the speaker was unclear. It puts the blame on them. Instead, blame the medium. Blame the phone. Say, I apologize. The line cut out for a second. Could you repeat that last number? Or say, I want to make sure I have this 100% correct. Could you spell that for me? By framing the request as a desire for accuracy, you turn a negative into a positive. You aren't deaf, you are thorough. We have the heartbeat, and we have the data. Now we need the anchor. We call this paraphrasing. Paraphrasing is the act of summarizing what the caller just said and repeating it back to them in your own words. This serves two massive functions. First, it is a logic check. It ensures you actually understood the request. Second, and more importantly, it provides psychological validation. When a customer is angry or confused, they often feel like they are shouting into the void. When you repeat their problem back to them, you are proving that they have been heard. You de-escalate the tension immediately. The formula is simple: lead in phrase, plus summary, plus confirmation check. The lead in: let me make sure I have this right. The summary: you need the report by Friday, but you want the data from Q3 included, not Q4. The confirmation: is that correct? When they say yes, a magical thing happens. You are now in agreement. You are no longer on opposite sides of the phone line. You are on the same team, looking at the same facts. Use this technique whenever a call transitions from one topic to another. It acts as a safe point in a video game. You lock in the progress before moving forward. Finally, we must control the flow. Have you ever been on a call where you didn't know where it was going? The person kept talking, jumping from topic to topic, and you felt lost. That is a lack of signposting. Signposting is using verbal markers to tell the listener where you are and where you are going. Think of yourself as a tour guide. You don't just start walking. You tell the group, first we will visit the museum, then we will have lunch. On a business call, you must do the same. If you need to gather information, tell them the structure. Say, to get this resolved, I need to do 3 things. First, I need to take your account details. Second, I'm going to put you on a brief hold to check the status. And third, we will schedule the delivery. This is powerful. Why? Because it reduces anxiety. When the caller knows the plan, they relax. They surrender control to you because you have a map. If you need to put them on hold, signpost it. Do not just say, hold on. Say, I need to look up that file. It will take about 2 minutes. Do you mind holding? You gave them a reason, a time frame, and asked for permission. That is signposting. Let's bring it all together. Active listening is not about sitting back and letting the words wash over you. It is a high-energy activity. You are using verbal nods to keep the connection alive. You are using the alphabet to ensure zero-defect data entry. You are paraphrasing to validate the client and lock in understanding. And you are signposting to guide the conversation from start to finish. When you combine these elements, you stop being a passive receiver. You become the director of the call. You create a container where business can happen efficiently and accurately. The caller will hang up thinking, wow, that person is sharp. They won't know exactly why. They won't know you were using back-channeling or signposting. They will just feel that you were totally present. In our next video, we are going to take these skills into the fire. I will see you there.